Test 1, 2. Good morning. 1, 2, 3, 4. How's that sound? You want more? A little bit more, okay. More. 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 That's more. Good. Cricket, would you grab the chant sheets? And anyone who doesn't know the chants we're about to do, please raise your hand and Cricket can bring you the couple of new folks, right? All right. Please join me in silencing your chord. Maybe it's not the chord. Dang. Silencing your great distractor. Oh, good. All right. Oh, let's check this one too while we're at it. Batteries, I got them after. Okay. So many little tidbits here. It's amazing. There we go. Have you noticed how remarkably unstable life is? Things you counted on are not turning out like we thought, and some things are turning out for the worse, some things for the better, quite unpredictable. Hence the refuges. To take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha is to take refuge in being awake, which is the Buddha, and refuge in things as they actually are is the Dharma, and refuge in community, in the fact that we really need each other to make it through any times, not just hard times, but that particularly if we're going to do the difficult work of turning inward and waking up, then we really need our friends, and that's us. There's also a kind of an historical recollection, which is that millions of people have done exactly what we're doing over 2,500 years, and we're part of that stream. And then there's a bigger community than that, which is the community of all life here on the earth. That at this moment, we're the cambium layer of life. Like in a tree, there's that little 1 or 2 cell thickness that creates the tree trunk. We're that. And so we're that with the whales and, the mosquitoes jump to mind crazily. But with everything that lives, and we bear that for this moment, and that's our family. So let's see if this will all work. How's that for sound to the net? I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the unity of mindful harmony. Namo Sangaya, no Sangaya, Namo Sangaya. Wow, sweet this morning, isn't it? Again, I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya. Wow, beautiful. When we stop and just sit, we have the opportunity to really observe the human mind and the body and all of its experiences. Some years ago, I heard a talk by a very famous Zen master. And he spoke about how sometime in the middle of the last century, a new religion had sprung forth, and it has swept the earth faster and more completely than any religion before. And he went on for quite a long time about it before saying what he ultimately did. And so my mind, at least, was like, what's he talking about? What could that possibly be? And then he said that religion is consumerist materialism. Because when we turned from being citizens in the late 50s into consumers, we did that on the basis of a promise, and the promise is, if you have enough money and stuff, you'll be happy. Right? You'll sort of be in heaven, Costco heaven, or Amazon heaven, or the right vacation heaven, or the right clothing, or the right this and that. And that's a very powerful promise. It's swept the world. Much of the world is still looking forward to it. But we who've had it are discovering, as important as material well-being is, and good medical care and so on, we're still left empty because it doesn't fill the real void. And so to stop as we are right now and to sit and to turn inward is a radical act. It is to say, I wonder if I can become content. I wonder if contentment and a feeling of safety might arise if I took refuge in being awake. What if I practiced being content with what I already have? And observed the endless desire for more stimulation, less unpleasantness, more pleasantness. What if I observe that as I observe the weather, or sunrise, or seasons? And it's useful as a strategy to have a home base, to come home to the body, to the livingness, the breathingness of this body, the aliveness where it presses into the chair, in the hands. One of the first and really ongoingly most important things to realize is how easy it is to live in a kind of trance. Always thinking, always lost in an emotion or a mood. And we can wake up from those trances by inhabiting the body right now, right here, this breath. Breathing in, breathing out. in paying attention to body sensations, there's no need for thoughts. There's no need for description or abstraction at all. There can be just awareness and this extraordinary participation in life. When evolution transformed from single-cell organisms to complex beings like ourselves, it had to devise a way to get every cell still to have oxygen all the time. So it devised lungs and a heart and a circulatory system. And it did this in concert with our green brothers and sisters, friends, colleagues, trees, plankton, ferns. They need carbon dioxide, of which these days we're giving them more than they can deal with, but their metabolic processes release oxygen that then nourish our cells. So when we pay attention to the breath, we are paying attention to the earth breathing. And this breath is as natural as the tides or rain or the moon orbiting the earth. It's the way things are. It's the Dharma. So we can be as intimate as possible with this sensation of breathing. We can notice how it begins, how it grows to fullness and then declines and then disappears. having the intention to stay with the body and breathing makes obvious how unruly the mind is. Please don't make the mistake of thinking that the goal is to silence that mind. It will go silent sometimes. But the goal is to be awake to what's happening, to notice if it's wandering a lot, or if it's filled with desire or disliking or anxiety or worry or depression or fear or loneliness or sleepy dullness or doubting. To see all of these as the weather that occurs in human consciousness. And moment by moment to set yourself free. But remarkably, that comes about through accepting things exactly as they are. there's really no predicting what will arise in any moment of consciousness. Just as there's no predicting what will arrive in the next moment in our lives. We make plans, we can be quite articulate about our plans and our values and our intentions. And then we take the ride of life. And the same is exactly true as we sit in meditation. What thought will spring up next? Or what profound silence? Or what undeniable experience of interconnection with all of life? Or what old traumatic emotion? And so we cultivate the capacity to simply be, to be awake, to be present. We could broaden the focus to include the life in the hands or in the arms. Or maybe the life in the feet and legs. Or maybe the face, the eyes, scalp. A mass of life sits here. And anywhere that awareness is directed, we find the different colors and flavors of life, the different feel. And we can include sounds, these words, traffic. Please notice where your body's touching the cushion or the floor. Notice the aliveness in your hands and fingers, in your eyes. And please notice that when you pay attention to the eyes, there's nothing There's no I-ness to them at all. There's just sensations of a particular kind. And notice how you can move the eyes around inside there in their beautiful, smooth home. You could circle them one way or another. And then please notice the intention to allow them to open. And notice how they don't open on their own. They open because of consciousness willing them to open. And then when they do open slowly, notice what happens. Objects. There are objects and there's seeing. If you let them close again, the objects disappear. Seeing consciousness disappears. Seeing. And then sitting still is unusual for us. There might be some stiffness in your body, so notice where that is, and then notice the impulse to stretch a little bit and let that happen. Thank you all for being here this morning. And thanks to those of you joining us out in internet land. I'm going to do my mission, my other mission role now for a few minutes. Who has not seen the video? One or two people, a few. Okay, enough, I'll show it. So bear with me. This is like NPR when they interrupt the programming and they say, this is really important what we're doing. So let me encourage you to participate. And participate, this community is big time, because here's the Buddha-mometer. Thank you, my dear. The Buddha-mometer is, incidentally, if you ever want to really have a good time with paint, gold oil paint is really fun. I look forward to every time I get to fill it in. It has that depth like Rembrandt paintings. It's just... So anyway, this is where we are. We now have in the bank, or pledged, $39,000, and we need 44 in order to build the ramp and to fix the restrooms. That's pretty darn amazing how generous people have been. I had a meeting with Ron Matella, who's the project manager, a member of the community, and Rob White, who's the contractor, and we came through here. We found various complications with the plan, but it's all going to work, and that's going to become a door, and a person will be able to come up into the living room and then up into here and be in a wheelchair. And he started the permitting process the other day. It'll be 3 to 5 weeks before construction can start. But by fall, it'll be done. And for him, it's not a big project. So that's good to know. And then the bathrooms will be remodeled. We have to move one wall, but it's quite doable. So, and then this is exciting. We have, as of today, $2,300 in promised matching funds. And so the next $2,300 that are donated will be doubled, which will bring us to within, too small to not paint, of the 44. And then with another 2 weeks to go, we have this 16,000, which will allow us to tie this building to its foundation, because it's typical of, well, this is really old. But up until maybe 25 years ago, they didn't tie buildings down. And a medium earthquake would dance it off its foundation. So we're going to proceed to raise that, and I'm feeling more and more confident. It looked like so much at the beginning, and now it's right here. And one thing that we're going to do is on the 30th of June, my wife Jennifer and I are inviting the community for a fundraising dinner. We're going to have the Portland Insight Meditation Community Folk Society will provide music. There'll be there may be an original song or two by Doyle Banks. And we'll have I have a Buddha that lived in Ruth Dennison's bedroom that will be up for auction, and a very fine ukulele, and perhaps a nice art piece. And so you're invited to that, and there will be more. More will be revealed about that. But let me show you this video. It speaks for itself, and then we will get on with our previously planned programming. Could someone turn out the lights, please? This says a lot. It says it all. Presuming I can get it to work. Oh, wait a minute. There's lots of parts to this. Did that start? Yeah, okay. It's very encouraging to me that our community has risen to this occasion so beautifully. And I want to thank everyone who's contributed so generously to give yourself a pat on the back. Light up. Oh, maybe this has to be on. Huh. Oh. Hello, my name is Robert Beatty, and I'm the founder and guiding teacher of the Portland Insight Meditation Center. I'm speaking to you today to ask you to help make Portland Insight Meditation Center accessible to people in wheelchairs. We've had this issue since we purchased the building, now almost 15 years ago, and it's really time that we make everyone welcome. There have been members of the community who have participated for years and then dropped out because they no longer could enter the building. Imagine how that would be. This is your spiritual community, and suddenly you get to watch on TV. Several months ago, it became apparent to me the urgency of getting our friends in wheelchairs into the building. So we purchased an aluminum ramp, and it's semi-functional. It's a lot of work. The person cannot enter the building autonomously, but it's been inspiring to see our friends being able to enter the building. And that's part of why we're moving ahead now so firmly to make this happen. As Siddhartha was awakened to the realities and the challenges of life by his encounters with the heavenly messengers, I've had two marvelous teachers who have made clear to me how easily I could be in their shoes and how significantly they need and desire to be in the center.
Well, we moved into this neighborhood about 2 years ago, and I was walking around rolling around with my stepdad, and we came upon this Insight Meditation Center. And I said, wow, what kind of fate is that? And we rolled around to the front, and we saw stairs And I said, rats, and we rolled around to the side, more stairs, and I said, rats. Well, I guess that's some kind of fate too.
I was attending PIMC about 3 times a week, and as I lost my mobility and that became more difficult than impossible, I felt like I deeply lost my community.
I looked up PIMC online, and I said, I found Robert's name, and I emailed and said, do you think I could come by when you're sitting and just sit in the garden outside? And I wasn't intending to be so plaintive and pathetic, but I really did want to sit with the group, so you need other people to make it work, and that's why Sangha is one of the 3 refuges. It's not 2 refuges and then, you know, oh yeah, maybe get together with other people once in a while.
Community is so important to our spiritual practice. And when you tune in via the internet, what you miss is being able to come together at the end and join hands in a circle and look at each other. We look at each other in the eye, and we send love and kindness and good wishes for everybody that has joined hands in the circle. And then at the point before we release, we send all that joy and good wishes to the broader community.
It's a very reasonable project. We have drawings, we have a contractor, and we're ready to go, and all we're needing now is adequate funding. This isn't a whim, or this isn't something to do because it will be politically correct or because it would look good. This is something to do because human beings really need access to this building and the teachings and community that's here. It's something that's really essential. And because it's essential, I invite you to participate as fully as you can to make what for you is a meaningful gift. Keeping in mind, as you write that check or as you go online and make a donation, keeping in mind that what you're doing is actually helping real human beings get access to the Dharma.
I really look forward to the day that I can actually get into the center by myself and practice with community. And it would be really nice if that happened before I die.
May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Well, that really says it all. We've wanted to do this for more than a decade, actually, since we bought the building. And it moves me pretty deeply that we're actually pulling it off. And that Mark, who you saw in the video, who each Saturday night he texts Avi and I whether he's going to come the next day or not. We won't have to do that anymore when we get the ramp. He'll be able to come, and anybody else will be able to too. And I think we may be really surprised how many people show up here in wheelchairs, because there's Dharma Rain Zen Center, which is accessible without, is wheelchair accessible. This would be the second Dharma center in the city of a totally different tradition. So it's a pretty important thing. And then tying the building down, hopefully, probably, that big earthquake won't come during our lifetime, but it sure could. It's not an impossibility. That the volcano in Hawaii is very convincing to me. It's still pouring lava out right now, so that could happen, and then this building would survive most likely, and not only for us, but it would be a stable place in the neighborhood. That could be very important. So I invite you to if it touches you, if you can, as Marshall Rosenberg put it, if you can give with the delight of a small child feeding a hungry duck, then take that delight, and you can do that. I've got some sheets here I'll put at the back of the room, or ask Avi to maybe after, which describe it a little bit, and the website. And you can also just go on portlandinsight.org, and it's right there. So thank you for your patience, and thank you so much for your generosity and support in this. And of course, the greatest generous act any of us can do is to maintain our practice and to become more loving, caring people, because we influence the whole world in that. So here's these, and will you put them at the back before the end, Avi? And I'm going to hand the baton to you, Jim, to do a little movement. Thank you.
So I invite you to stand with us or sit and imagine with us. We'll just go through the first half of our usual routine and move on to our next section. So we stand and get in touch with our feet. Feel the weight shift from one side to the other. Waking up the bottoms of the feet, making rock up on our toes and back on our heels. And then soften the shoulders, soften the knees, sink, and let the arms just float up as you breathe in. And then release the breath, release the arms. Noticing sensations in the shoulders, in the hands, in the knees and the hips. So we wake up this flow of energy in the body gently, but then we expand it a little bit. Open. Notice the mood change when you fill the lungs completely. So what I tell people in my classes, reach out and find someone at the end of your arm. It's not an attack, that's a blessing. You're going to run the gauntlet again, okay? Overhead, and open to one side like you're painting a rainbow. Again, the lungs and the rib cage and the spine wake up a little deeper. Then we reach up and separate the clouds. We don't have any today, but we've been struggling all winter separating clouds. It's just beginning to happen. open to the side, palms up, press with one arm, pull back with the other. And then drop both arms back. Open the shoulder sockets as much as you want to. Big circles. And then we'll move the weight into one side and lift the heel on the other side, reaching up. One teacher offers a peach to the sun. That's not the way I learned it, but I like it. And then we turn and gaze at the moon. Release the arms, lifting, gazing, surrendering. If only it was so easy in other parts of our life. Start up and surrender. Then pressing across, feel the weight shift towards the corner, and then the other corner. And the body knows how to adjust. We don't fall over. We just reorganize tendons and ligaments and muscles. And we got the floor to sing with us. All right, bring one hand across. This is my favorite gesture. It's called cloud hands. Release, start again. The upper hand is a cloud drifting across the sky. The lower hand is the shadow on the earth. So part of Chinese medicine is seeing the human form as this bridge between the earth and the sky. And this gesture captures it. We're drifting along in the atmosphere, but we're grounded on the earth. And some ideas are more powerful than others. We hold certain images and the mood shifts. The present moment is a lot more accessible when we think about it as a link between heaven and earth. All right, release the arms, come to stillness. Notice there's lots of vitality in this still body. We don't need a gesture to know we're alive and flowing with sensations, bottoms of the feet, lower legs, upper legs, deep inside tissue. Hello? I come and I go. I'm impermanent here. Anyway. Imagine the space between your hips and your shoulders and fill all that space with new breath. And release what you don't need that you just rented from the atmosphere. And again. And this time we'll sink. Arms to the side. Come down the center. Okay, thank you very much. We had 10 people here yesterday out under the trees doing this. And the third week of July, we'll be back on a Saturday for a 4-hour Qigong retreat. So check it out on the calendar. Thank you.
Oh, well, actually, here, why don't you do it? And you know how to set it up. Good morning, Sangha. And good morning out there in internet land. I want to wish all of you a very happy Pride. For those of you, since I know that when I'm in talks or when I'm attending meetings and people make oblique references to things and don't explain them, it really irritates me. So for those of you who don't know, this is Gay Pride weekend. There's a really neat festival that's down on the waterfront. There was a parade today. It happens every year. I've got an adult son who is transitioning from female to male. And I feel very blessed to be part of a community that not only just has the idea of welcoming everyone, but really walks the talk and really means it and really is willing to do what it takes to do it and is willing to learn. And that's one of the many reasons that I'm here. So if you have nothing to do today, everyone is welcome at that festival. Whether you are part of the self-described group of LGBTQAI, or even if you just consider yourself an ally, it's really a neat festival down there. But what is going on? So on Wednesday, let's see, so we've already passed by that. So we've got our first in-house Buddhist movie night at PIMC. We're going to be showing Little Buddha. That'll be on Saturday, June 23rd, and that'll be at 6:30 p.m. There's information on it on the website. Then the PIMC monthly retreat is going to be happening July 7th on a Saturday. There will be more information about that coming soon. That will be one of a series of monthly retreats that we're going to be having that will be open to everybody, and those will always be on the first Saturday of the month. Then from July 8th to July 20th, the Mountain Waters Retreat with Robert. I believe that there are still spaces available. And then on July 9th is our second Sunday PIMC potluck, and bring your casseroles and other things for that next month. If you wish to engage in this community at a deeper level, please consider doing something to be of service to the community and be a volunteer. Kirsten is raising her hand. She would be happy to talk with you about any of the ways in which you would be interested in contributing to keeping this community going, because this community only exists because an awful lot of caring people really are willing to put some time, and it's not that much time, but are willing to put some time in every month to do things that need to be done, but also, more importantly, in the act of getting things done, to meet one another and get to know one another and feel like we're all working towards something, towards some common good that's greater than ourselves. How many people here, just raise your hands, how many people here are or have volunteered at PIMC? So look around. These are all the people who are here right now who are helping keep this community going. We have a number of other sits during the week. This is our rather large one. This is the mothership. But if you prefer a sit that is more intimate, we do have those. Check the website for information. We also have spiritual friends groups throughout the city, and we've even got one up in Vancouver, I believe, where you can discuss the Dharma, do some meditation, maybe read books together on your own schedule. If you want to connect with one of those spiritual friends groups, please see me, check the website. If you want to start one of those spiritual friends groups, please see me, and I can help you get that going. We also have our transitions project. That's what this chest is over here. If you have things that you do not need, please bring them in, and we will get them down to the transitions project in downtown Portland, and this helps homeless people get back on track with their lives. We also have Dharma consults that are available. If you have an issue that is coming up in your practice and you want to talk with a practitioner, one of our teachers would be happy to sit down with you. If you want to start a practice and you want to fast track that rather than waiting for a formal class, one of our teachers would be happy to sit with you for 30 minutes. It's free. We offer this to the community. If you're interested, please see me. And as always, my name is Avi. I'm community coordinator here. If there is anything that I can do to help you access this community and get involved with it at a deeper level, please come and see me, email me, phone me, come and see me. My office hours are Monday through Thursday in the mornings, and I'd be happy to share with you any way in which you can plug more deeply into PIMC. So thank you very much for your presence today, and have a blessed day. Yes, I heard somebody say my name. Oh, okay. Somebody was thanking me. Okay. You're welcome. I sure wish you could, each and every one of you, sit here where I sit and see this beautiful gathering this way. In fact, please take a moment. Let's do this. As you look here, you probably see a face, a head, a body. I hope you do. And commonly we think that at our end there's another face. But in your experience, is there a face, if you point at this thing that you think of as your face, is there really a face there in your experience? I don't think so. There isn't here. What there is awareness. There's a remarkable, a mysterious, there's no miraculous knowing, and you fill it. You fill that knowing. We're like fish in water. We don't notice that what we are is awareness, because we've been trained to think, well, I'm a person and I'm a this and I'm a that. But that which knows, what Ajahn Chah spoke of, the Buddha nature, that which is awake, he called it the one who knows, and that our task is to cultivate the one who knows. Most of the time we're lost in some fantasy or desire or aversion or something, emotion. But here we could be aware of what are you really, this
we really are the universe awake to itself. Big words, but in practice it's so simple. So I invite you to take 30 seconds or so, to the degree it's comfortable with you, and then look around and meet the eyes of others. This is how we talk about meet the eyes of others. Allow others into your consciousness and just meet. So for just 30 seconds or a minute, please, as much as it feels good. Some years ago, a long time ago, 30 years ago, good God, I had the privilege I did a month-long Sufi retreat with my wife and then very young children in Bali. We camped in a coconut grove. And I got for 20 or 25 of those days, my then wife and I sat with a man named Atum O'Kane, who's one of those really deep, remarkable human beings. And we sat on a little platform, 10 feet by 10 feet, maybe with a palm roof, and we talked. And actually, I learned something from him in that interaction. I didn't know it was possible to be with people so openly and so present, and he modeled that so beautifully. And it changed my life remarkably. But among the things he said was that as your spiritual practice spirals inward, there's a couple of encounters that you're going to have to deal with. One is with your parents, and another is with the religion of your childhood. And since then I've learned, and also any trauma you've experienced, that since spiritual practice isn't about up and away, it's about in and down into our wholeness, then of course we will have to encounter and, one could say, make friends with, or learn somehow or another to make peace with these people who in this lifetime played the role of parent. And I love that terminology because it moves it out of, and I'm thinking of this today's Father's Day in our culture. There's this man, this flawed, ordinary human being who was your father. And for most of us, until we do the work of relinquishment, he's my father. He's the role, he's the archetype. But then there's a way in our movement inward that person can become, that's the flawed person who in this lifetime took on that impossible role of being the biological part is so easy, right? It's just, anyone can do that. But then playing the role and being being somewhat good at it is really a challenge. Yeah. So I honor today my father, Robert Earl Beatty, and he passed away about 25 years ago. And he was one of those complicated people. He He went from being a boy who came of age during the Depression and couldn't leave, had to live at home. He delivered newspapers during the Depression in order to help his family survive. And then he did commercial high school, and ultimately he became the manager of the Montreal News Dealers Supply Company Limited, and they had 80 trucks. He was the manager of a company, a big company, and he was way beyond his educational skills. The people he hung out with at conventions all had MBAs and so on. And he, in his generation, stopped physical violence. His father was quite violent physically with him, and he never hit me. He wanted to, I know that. He's a parent. He moved us to the suburbs. I got to go to good schools, took care of all those basics. And he was a very injured person. He started drinking in his teens and never stopped. And so his alcoholism proceeded to get worse and worse and worse until he died. He died young at 72, which is 2 years more than me. But by then his body was all shrunken. But he was a kind man. He did a lot of good things for people. It's funny what pops to mind. There was a time, we lived in an all-white suburb in Montreal, and a family from, the Caribbean, I forget where, but purchased the house across from us. I'm getting teary. And they had slightly dark skin. And one of the neighbors came, and I witnessed this. It makes me very teary. One of the neighbors came and said, we're banding together. We don't want them here. It'll ruin our neighborhood. And he said, "Get off my property. Just get out of here." So proud of him. It's like, phew, yeah. So, there was a time, complicated time, when he was in Montreal and I was here in Portland, and we were talking. He didn't talk on the phone. We had maybe 5 real 10-minute conversations ever, but something difficult was happening. And one of the things he said that has stuck with me is, "Robert, we do the best we are." Now that's an interesting statement, isn't it? Because I've done things in my lifetime that I wouldn't do now, but that's who I was then. And so it's compassion that I think sets us free in this. And I have a couple of poems I want to share, and then a bit of a song, and then maybe a guided meditation. So I invite you to think about this person who in this lifetime played the role of father, and what's the reaction? Is it or I miss him, or what is it? And I don't remember. Oh, this is Kathy Kelly in The Sun in 2005. The story of a father. My father was the second oldest of 7 children. His mother died of a brain tumor when he was 17. His father, a violent alcoholic who had beaten his wife, promptly abandoned the children. The younger ones were placed in foster care or in the Catholic home for working boys. My dad kept track of them all, hoping to bring them together under one roof someday. He never did. My grandfather held an inexplicable grudge against my father. He would mail Dad postcards from seaports around the world that read, "Dear Jim, I'm alive, no thanks to you." Toward the end of his life, my grandfather lived on the street in New York City. My dad paid the owner of a flop house my grandfather frequented to make sure his father always had a meal and a bed. My grandfather died in that flop house of tuberculosis sometime in the 30s. My father did not tell me these stories until I had kids of my own. By then, I was mad at my dad because his own drinking had made our home a scary place for me as a child. I was mad at my mom because she'd been so passive, hardly ever getting out of bed. I was mad at my brother for leaving home and never looking back. I was mad at my sister for being everyone's favorite. I felt the world owed me one big apology. My mom had plenty of time to apologize as she lay dying, but she didn't. My dad didn't apologize for his drinking, but he did get sober. And that was apology enough for me. It was a pleasure to listen to him hum a tune as he stood on a ladder in my house, making electrical repairs for me and the kids. I'm older now, and I have learned what a mistake it is to wait around for people to apologize. A wise person once said that holding on to anger is like eating rat poison and expecting the rat to die. No longer do I look down on people who offend me, extending forgiveness from my lofty perch. I understand now how limited we all are by circumstances, time, place, history, and luck. We humans are a frail lot. Compassion seems to be the only thing that saves us. No longer do I look down on people who offend me, extending forgiveness from my lofty perch. I understand now how limited we all are by circumstances, time, place, history, and luck. We humans are a frail lot. Compassion seems to be the only thing that saves us. And this one is by Elsa Brooks, poem. She wakes up to the sound of crying, muffled in the darkness. She takes tentative steps to the room upstairs. It's her father. Bottles on the floor, cigarette in his hand. The room is subdued and smoky. She turns to leave as silently as she walked in, and he whispers, "I'm sorry." Tears flow freely, streaking her cheeks. She runs to hug him. 4 years later, and they're still hugging. They still cry together, but now they also laugh together, take trips together, play cards together, friends as well as family. They live in a small brown house. It was so cold, so empty. She still cries on her own, so does he. He has a son who can't be with him, who feels guilty for loving him, a wife that despises him, but a daughter who can't live without him. He's her rock, her savior, her knight in shining armor. She is the light of his life, the apple of his eye, his second chance, his path to redemption. Now I know this conversation, this topic can be really hard for some people. So I invite you to bring your deepest meditative skills to be with that, if that's the case. I'm not going to sing this whole song, but maybe the first two, what are they called? Chorus, not chorus. The first two bits might be good. my father could use a little mercy now. The fruits of his labor fall and rot slowly on the ground. His work is almost over. It won't be long, he won't be around. I love my father, he could use some mercy now. My brother could use a little mercy now. He's a stranger to freedom. He's shackled to his fear and his doubt. The pain that he lives in is almost more than living will allow. I love my brother, he could use some mercy now. My father could use a little mercy now. The fruits of his labor fall and rot slowly on the ground. His work is almost over. It won't be long, he won't be around. I love my father, he could use some mercy now. Who in this room has a father who's alive? Please raise your hands. Wow, half, less than half. I think it's something about my age, 70. It's becoming clearer and clearer to me that none of this lasts. That every single relationship ends in either separation or death. And so it makes any clinging to resentments that I do now seem more and more insane. Not that it means I can be in relationship with everyone or mend every fence so that relationship could work again, but to relinquish that hard-heartedness, to torture myself over things that happened and didn't happen. It also helps getting older because I've fallen on, the falling on one's face has happened with sufficient frequency that it makes it easier to be kind with other people and oneself. So I'm wondering, what's the time? Oh, good. Let's do a little guided meditation about this person, the Father. I'm going to play some music in the background here. It's by Peter Jack Rainbird from Unravel, the Extended Suites. See if that'll work. So please be comfortable and upright. Notice where you are right now. Your body sitting here in this old room built in 1930. Think of how many people have come and gone here. Or those of you at home, where are you right now? Where are you sitting? This is the present moment. It's really, of course, the only moment ever, because anything else is a fantasy. Notice this preciousness that is your breath. You are alive. You couldn't possibly be more alive than this. And your life is in the circumstance that it is right now. The people you're related to or you're in relationship with, and your health circumstances, your financial circumstances, the political time in which you find yourself. But when we stop and pay attention, all we actually have is this very second, millisecond right now. The past is a class of thoughts that exist in the present. And it's such a healing breakthrough when we realize that. Because then we know that the past exists now only in our thoughts and memory, and probably body chemistry and tension somewhat. But that too exists just now. In the same way, the future exists only as thoughts, possibilities, plans. So landing right here with this breath. Take a moment, please, to pay attention to what your story is about this person who in this lifetime played the role of father. What's his name? Or what was his name? And see how it is to think of this person as that one who in this lifetime played the role of father. It's a movement toward perceiving objectively that this person had a childhood, was profoundly conditioned by the time of their birth, by the circumstances of parents, by their genetic endowment. By the place they were born in the socioeconomic hierarchy. Maybe they lived through the Depression or through a war or schizophrenia or alcoholism or maybe their injuries were such that they became completely self-centered and narcissistic. Or maybe very kind and generous and able to be with you and support you. In the words of that wise, complicated man who played the role of my father, we do the best we are. Can you open to the idea that this person who played the role of father in this lifetime did the best he could? It may have been quite inadequate. It might have been even traumatizing, or it could have been many blessings, or some combination thereof. The very choices that we make arise out of the possible choices that have been offered to us and out of our conditioning. The practice of forgiveness doesn't really have that much to do with the other person. It has to do with ourselves and whether we want to be happy and free or not. It has to do with letting go of the rope at our end of a tug of war. It has to do with relinquishing our cherishing of hurtful memories. Forgiving does not mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean not maintaining adequate boundaries. It doesn't even mean that you'll have to see the person ever again. What it does mean is that you can relax your own heart and realize you don't need to hold tense anywhere to protect yourself anymore. It means you can allow that quiet trembling of the heart the Buddha described when love encounters suffering, and to let compassion arise for yourself and for this person who in this lifetime played the role of father. Father, sometimes stepfather. And forgiving yourself as well for any of the unskillful ways that you've behaved in this relationship. Because you too are an ordinary human being, profoundly affected by the conditionings of your childhood and infancy and genetics and the time, the people you had as friends, sickness, injury. Set yourself free. There's a simple sort of prayerful saying to this person who played the role of father as much as I can in this moment. I aspire to let go of any resentments, any blame. I forgive you. To the best of my ability in this moment, my aspiration is to live joyfully and in freedom. And should there be anything that you feel you need forgiveness from this other person, please forgive me for my failures to be perfect, my failures to be loving, my failures to be honest. I too am a flawed human being on the path to awakening, and I haven't arrived yet. Please forgive me. And forgive yourself. We can be merciless with ourselves. Strange malware. Think of anything or things that you've done in this relationship with this other who played the role of father, or really anywhere in your life. I forgive you. Say to yourself, I forgive you. And of course, these words are simply guideposts. Your own intuition will come up with exactly the right things, the right images. In fact, so much of this inner work happens without any words at all. Healing is so natural, just as a skinned elbow in a bicycle fall heals. So does this human heart of ours if we just give it half a chance. And there may be more to say or do. You might need a conversation with this person internally, or maybe you want to write something down sometime, or maybe you even want to communicate in person or somehow by letter. But don't put any shoulds on yourself. Allow the healing to take its own course. And another dimension of our healing of the human heart is that of gratitude. And in relationship to this person who played the role of father, think of all the ways you might be grateful. All the subtleties of generosity and the big generosities, the sacrifices this person made to support you. Even if it was really imperfect. You can notice sometimes that gratitude is very similar to love and compassion. It's a softening. It's a realizing of our interconnectivity and our interbeing. And it comes into a gratitude for our own breath and our own body. This body, half of which came from the DNA of your father. And his father before him, and his father before him, for countless generations. And so this gratitude is extended back through all time to all beings. And it becomes the practice of the Brahma Viharas of love and compassion and sympathetic joy and equanimity. To give thanks for this birth, for this breath that's gone on for so many years, for all the countless systems in the human body that are in balance to be here right now. And I like to thank the Buddha and the lineage that brings these teachings down through Ruth Denison, helping to wake up and to remember our true great nature, including that person who played the role of father and she who played the role of mother. Recognizing our interconnectivity with everything that is alive. Noticing your body as a field of life, a field of sensations. How could it be more alive than this? And this awareness, which is the awareness of the universe, abiding in this body. Also aware of any thoughts and emotions, perceptions. The entire vast universe taking form as you, seeing itself, hearing itself. And noticing now the sounds around us. And then mysteriously noticing how it's possible to form watch how you do it, form an intention in the mind to let the eyes open, and then it happens. How does it happen that that intention becomes an action and then the eyes open? And then there's seeing. Seeing. Great. And to the degree that it's comfortable, I invite you to look around as we did before and see yourself in your many forms. And so, we have a few minutes. If anyone has anything you'd like to share from this experience, I will bring you the microphone. You take it like this and speak into it like this. Hi, Jenna. Long time no see. or just delight in the silence. I want to say one more thing, or maybe a couple of things about my dad. His spiritual legacy to me, he was kind of non-denominational Protestant, never went to church. Though as a boy he had perfect attendance. We had his Bible for perfect attendance. But his spiritual legacy to me was downhill skiing. When Catholicism crumbled, I had something of great value, which was that I participated, as I've learned to speak of it since then, in the Church of the Great Blue Dome. And that was backpacking and mountaineering and skiing and no accident, I think, that the Buddha woke up under a tree participating in nature. So that was a really big gift. I've passed that one on to my kids as well. The one time my parents came to visit, which is now 35 years ago, my son Luke was 6 months old, and we went out to dinner at Uncle Chen's. Does anybody remember Uncle Chen's? It was a really good Chinese restaurant right downtown. Yeah, Uncle Chen's. And I asked my father, what if he had a transmission for me? What would he say about his wisdom from this lifetime? And he thought for quite a while, and then he said, bless his heart, try not to hurt anybody. And don't cheat any more than you have to. That was honest, right? Pretty interesting. I asked him for my blessing as a Dharma teacher, for his blessing as a psychotherapist and Dharma teacher. He thought about that a long time. And then he said, "Oh, hell, Robert. I don't know anything about that psychology stuff, but you're making a living, and I don't think you're hurting anybody." He didn't like my car, though. My car was, I had an old beater, and he disapproved. Wisely, probably. He died of a heart attack. We think. We moved my parents from Montreal to Vancouver, BC. My mother on a stretcher. We had 2 rows of seats. My father on oxygen, my mother on a stretcher up on the back of the seats. And we got them to Vancouver, got them into their apartment, and a week later he died. And on top of his pile of papers was all the important stuff was all laid out there. And there was a little scrap of, and he had terrible emphysema, terrible. My mother was in a little local hospital for a year before we moved them, and he went there 3 times a day. He drove down there, and he would have to stop 4 times before getting to rest because of his breathing. And the nurses said he just came and he just sat there 3 times a day. It was kind of scary, though, for us, and it had been for a long time, because he was always quite inebriated. Like he was a maintenance drinker. And so 3 times a day he was driving down to the hospital, but that wasn't new. But there was a little piece of paper in his pocket that said, the difference between an ordinary man and a great man, or something like that, is perseverance. And he got her into a place of safety, and then he's gone. Quite something. So, happy Father's Day. May we all be free and set our parents and everybody that we have had these difficult relationships with. May we all be free and have a good time together. So I think we have kids in the chute. Thank you, those of you that joined us on the internet today. Very nice of you to be there. I'd like to say I see you, but I'd love to see you. So please let's make a big circle and come and have a little tea and goodies afterwards. Would someone let the kids in, please? Anybody want to come in here where the fun is? You're welcome to join us. Yay. Good, hi. May I hold your hand? Thank you. May I hold your hand, sweetheart? Or a finger? There we go. Thanks. Well, did you guys have fun today? Yeah? Yeah? Did you have fun? Good. What'd you do? You played. Good idea. Grown-ups don't do enough of that. Hi. So, here we are. How wonderful that we have hands. If we didn't have hands, how could we touch each other? Hang on. So why don't you give the hand on your right a little squeeze and think a kind thought for that person. Oh, I hope you're happy and healthy. Have a long, safe life. And the person on your left, give their hand a little squeeze. What would you wish them? And then imagining this energy going all the way around the circle, out your left hand, in from your right hand, boosted by your heart, around the circle to the left, and we build all this tremendous loving energy, and then let's just send it out into the world, to the east and the west and the north and the south and all points in between and above and below. May all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. And not just here on the earth, but in the furthest of galaxies, traveling at the speed of thought. May all beings benefit from our practice. Thank you to Ruth Dennison, to the Buddha. Think of all your different teachers. Thank your teachers, your mentors, sponsors. You know, there's that saying, we stand on the shoulder of giants, and it's really true. And so, we come to the moment of the song. Are you the ones? Great. Can you share the microphone? There we go. 1, 2, 3, go.
May all beings be happy. Good.
May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you. This is the best place on the planet. Are we ready to make a wish? And have you got that wish in mind? I'm going to count. Ready? Everyone in the room gets to take a deep breath. And at home, you can help. Breathing in. 1, 2, 3, blow. Yes, we did it again. Yay! So thank you all for being here. Do come and join us. Have a little tea and schmoozing. And thanks for being here. Thank you. Oh, wait. Are you going to be doing the recording today? No? Okay. Thanks. Hang on.